Somewhere in a garage right now, a repairman is staring at a machine that has no screws, no access panel, no way in. Not because it's complicated, but because it was built that way on purpose. 12 separate forces are conspiring to make sure that machine ends up in a landfill instead of his workbench, and most people have no idea any of them exist. This video goes through every single one, because once you see the full architecture of how modern goods are designed to die, you'll never look at your appliances the same way again. Number 1. Sealed devices that can't be opened. A repairman in Detroit sets a laptop on his bench and reaches for his screwdriver set, then stops cold. There's no seam anywhere on the casing, no visible fastener, no access panel, nothing to grab onto. The whole outer shell is a single continuous piece of aluminum, bonded together with structural adhesive so aggressive it operates at the molecular level, and the only way through it is destruction. This wasn't miniaturization forcing the designer's hand. Apple's MacBook Air, the iPhone line, the Microsoft Surface Pro, all of them were engineered specifically so a flathead screwdriver becomes useless the moment you pick it up. iFixit has been scoring devices on repairability since 2010, and the scores moved in one direction: down. Number 2. Planned obsolescence is now the business model. In 1925, the world's biggest light bulb manufacturers gathered in Geneva and signed an agreement to kill their own product. Bulbs that had been burning for 2,500 hours got quietly engineered down to 1,000. They called it the Phoebus Cartel, and it was the first time anyone put planned obsolescence in writing. What those manufacturers did in secret, Apple did on the evening news. In 2017, Apple admitted that iOS updates deliberately slowed down older iPhones, and the class action settlement that followed cost them $500 million. Printers got even more brazen about it. Epson and Brother build internal page counters into their machines that trigger a maintenance-required error on a perfectly functional printer. The counter hits its number and the machine just stops. Number 3. Software locks that block independent repairs. A farmer in Nebraska drops $500,000 on a John Deere combine, and when it breaks down mid-harvest, his neighbor, a diesel mechanic with 40 years on the job, can't fix it. Not because he lacks the skill. The hardware is identical to what he's worked on his whole career, same sensors, same wiring, same fault codes. But the moment he plugs in his diagnostic tools, the machine goes silent, because John Deere's software only talks to John Deere's authorized dealers. The lock is purely digital, a software gate checking for a proprietary authorization certificate. Without it, the machine sits. The dealer schedules an appointment for next week. The crops don't wait. Number 4. Replacement is cheaper than repair. A toaster breaks. Not catastrophically, just a faulty heating element. The kind of fix a technician in 1965 knocked out in 20 minutes with a replacement part costing less than $1. Today, a repair shop that still accepts toasters quotes $45 in labor before anyone touches anything. The toaster costs $29 at Walmart. The math does the rest. This price inversion didn't happen by accident. Manufacturing costs collapsed as production shifted to low-wage factories in China and Vietnam, pushing retail prices toward the floor, while skilled labor costs in developed economies kept climbing. A 2019 study by the European Environmental Bureau found that for vacuum cleaners, coffee makers, electric kettles, and toasters, repair costs exceeded the purchase price of a new unit in the majority of cases examined. Number 5. Manufacturers withholding parts and manuals. In 1980, a Maytag washing machine came with a service manual tucked into the documentation packet. Part numbers, diagrams, torque specs. Maytag printed that manual because they assumed someone would eventually need it, and they assumed that person had a right to use it. That assumption is gone now. Apple spent years refusing to sell replacement parts for out-of-warranty iPhones to independent repair shops. So technicians sourced components from gray market suppliers in Shenzhen whose quality nobody could verify. John Deere's service manuals sit behind dealer portals. Dyson discontinued spare parts for vacuum models within 2 years of release. Parts availability has a shelf life now, and the shelf keeps getting shorter. Number 6. Disposable built-to-fail products. In a fire station in Livermore, California, a light bulb has burned continuously since 1901. The Shelby Electric Company built it from a carbon filament thick enough to last, because in 1901, longevity was what the market rewarded and what customers demanded. Today's LED bulbs get built to a price point, not a lifespan. The LED elements themselves could burn for decades, but the driver circuits regulating power to them fail in years, and they're soldered together so you can't replace one without scrapping both. Repair technicians on iFixit's forums report that certain product lines fail in clusters, not randomly, because the same underspecified capacitor got installed the same way across an entire production run. The failure isn't a defect, it's a schedule. Number 7. Labor costs that outprice repairs. In March 2026, a 19-year-old roadside technician died on I-696 near Warren, Michigan. It was the state's 7th workplace fatality of the year. He carried real training, real skill, and real exposure to traffic every shift, and his wages placed him firmly in the lower tier of what America calls skilled labor. A refrigerator repair call in any major American city starts at $75 to $100 before the technician touches a single bolt. Add labor at $90 to $120 per hour, parts markup and travel, and a compressor replacement runs $400 to $600. A new mid-range refrigerator costs $500 at Home Depot. The technician isn't overpriced. The refrigerator is just too cheap, and those two facts sitting next to each other make repair economically absurd. Number 8. Shortage of skilled technicians. Vocational enrollment in appliance repair programs peaked in the early 1980s and has been falling ever since. And the Association of Home Appliance Manufacturers estimates that demand for qualified technicians will outpace supply by tens of thousands of workers over the next decade. This isn't young people avoiding hard work. It's rational calculation. A student weighing an appliance repair certification against a software engineering degree sees the math clearly. One career path leads into a market actively designed to make his skills unnecessary. The technicians still working are aging, with the average HVAC technician now in his mid-40s. When a veteran who spent 30 years diagnosing CRT televisions at the circuit level retired, that knowledge retired with him because nobody needed it transferred anymore. Number 9. Proprietary tools required for basic fixes. In 2011, Apple introduced the pentalobe screw, a 5-pointed fastener that fits no standard screwdriver on Earth. Standard Phillips screws would have held the iPhone together just as well. Apple chose the pentalobe because it required a tool Apple controlled and didn't sell to the public. iFixit reverse engineered it and started selling compatible drivers, so you can buy one on Amazon now, but the strategy itself never went away. John Deere's Service Advisor diagnostic system costs thousands upfront and thousands more every year in subscription fees. Tesla's Toolbox software, required to calibrate replacement sensors and cameras, isn't available to independent shops at all. BMW's brake pad reset takes 30 seconds but needs dealer-controlled hardware to clear the service indicator. A shop in the early 2000s needed hand tools and a multimeter. Number 10. Warranty policies that punish repairs. The Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act of 1975 says a manufacturer can't void your warranty just because an independent technician touched the machine. The law's been clear on that for 50 years. Manufacturers ignore it anyway, because most consumers don't know it exists, and hiring a lawyer costs more than the warranty claim is worth. In 2018, the FTC sent warning letters to Sony, Microsoft, Hyundai, and others, telling them to strip illegal void language from their documentation. Most complied. The behavior didn't change because the new language achieved the same result with more careful wording. Apple's self-repair program, launched in 2022, lets you buy genuine parts, but you rent the tools from Apple, register every component through Apple's system, and replacing a Face ID module still triggers software locks that cripple the device. Number 11. Global supply chains favor replacement over fixing. A washing machine motor built in a factory in Guangdong province costs $8 to produce. That same motor, ordered through a manufacturer's parts network in the United States, runs $140. The markup isn't shipping. It's architecture, because the parts supply chain was never built for efficient distribution. It was priced to make buying a new machine look reasonable by comparison. A container packed with complete washing machines generates far more revenue per cubic foot than one carrying individual motors and pumps, so manufacturers ship what pays, and spare parts inventories in destination countries stay thin, lead times stretch long, and prices climb to compensate. When COVID seized global supply chains in 2020 and 2021, repair shops couldn't source components at any price. Number 12. Consumer mindset shift. Upgrade, don't repair. Sometime in the early 2000s, the word upgrade ate the word fix. Not maintain, not restore, not repair. Upgrade. The word carries a whole philosophy inside it. The old thing wasn't broken, it was just insufficient, and the new thing doesn't replace it, it supersedes it. That mindset didn't grow on its own. Marketing budgets running into the billions cultivated it. Annual release cycles watered it, and software ecosystems that quietly withheld features from older hardware until the experience felt slow enough to justify a new purchase kept it alive. Apple's iPhone launch isn't a product event. It's a scheduled reminder that the phone in your pocket is already behind. A 2020 Restart Project survey found that a substantial portion of electronics sent to disposal still worked. People weren't discarding broken machines. They were discarding machines that felt old, and that feeling was manufactured by the same companies that built them.